Good morning, fellow YouTubers. This morning, I'm going to show you what I did over the last 2 days. Some of you have watched the video of my fishing trips in the last 2 weeks. And both days I went out, it was raining quite a bit. So I don't know, a lot of it didn't show up that much on the video, but there was a lot of rain. And all of my reels got completely drenched in the boat. So I spent the last 2 days going over them, taking them apart, making sure all the water was out of them, relubing them and putting them back together. And I'm going to walk you through the basis of what happened and how it all worked out. All right, we're going to start from best to worst. The reels that actually did the best out there. And I'm going to tell you right now that as far as water intrusion went, this reel here did quite well. This Kmart SS40 that I got from Dan Selvig, Dan donated it to our cause. It's been almost a year ago now, and it's been out there on the boat fishing. It's caught a number of nice fish, and when I took it apart, now granted this one sat for 2 days, so it, especially under a fan, so it had an opportunity to dry out some, but normally water that's gotten into things doesn't dry up very much. What I found when I took it apart was a very small amounts of water right along the edge of this plate. I found no water in here, which was very surprising, but I did have it well oiled inside, but I found no water intrusion whatsoever in the drag system. And the reel performed excellent. It has given me no trouble, and I found no damage inside it whatsoever. The next reel that did very well was this Penn Pursuit. And this one, you guys know, I put out there a few months ago. It's in really good condition. There was nothing wrong with it. I serviced it. No water in the drag whatsoever. When I took it apart here, right along the edge of the seam, there was just a little bit of water, and that was it. There was no other water intrusion on it. I went ahead, I don't know whether there was any well, let's just say, every one of these reels, what I did, first thing I did is I spun them up as fast as I could get them to go, and that slung water out of the rotors as far as the bails go. And that helped to lubricate them or move the water out of there. So I didn't take the bails apart because they're functional, and I slung the water out pretty good. But again, this Penn Pursuit, everything in it was really nice. No water intrusion. As surprising as it was, the Zebco 44 was laying in the bottom of the boat on a reel, and it had gotten quite a bit of water on it. It wasn't sitting in water, but it had been rained on a lot. And when I took it apart, found no water in it whatsoever. So, all right, this Damn Quick that I got from Chris Jenkins. It was in the bottom of the boat on a rod still. And the only water I found in it, I found none inside this head, which the head's very open. And it allows, when the wind was blowing from the fan blowing on it, I imagine it allowed it to dry up any water that was inside there. But inside, when I took the cap off, all that was dry. There was just a little bit of water intrusion right along this edge right here where this side cap goes on. But aside from that, again, very little water intrusion. Okay, next comes this Okuma. And when I took this off, it had this water seal here, and no, there was no water inside it. It did a really good job of keeping that out. It also has a gasket in the body. Right along here, there's a gasket that runs around it. This is the bait feeder, and everything still functions just like it's supposed to. Water didn't seem to get into anything. And when I took took this apart, there was a little bit of water on the gasket, but no water had intruded into the reel itself. And again, spun it around, made sure all the water was slung out of there, gave it a nice drink of oil on there, and this Okuma did well also. All of those reels I would give an A to. All right, I'm going to do these two together. One is a Shakespeare Sigma. The other one is a Shimano. Now, the Shakespeare Sigma, neither one of these two reels got fished either one of those days. But they were both on rods in the boat. Neither of them had water up underneath in the drag where you expected, but they weren't being fished, so there was no water coming into the end of them directly like this. And there was very little water along in here, but I did have water up inside these caps for the drags back here. Had to dry those out. In both cases, I had to get them both dried out that way. So they did get water up into the drag system. I know people talk about by not having the drag on the front that they stay much drier, and they do if it's not raining on it. If it's raining on it, then it's open to the rain, and all that water tends to get right down inside there. So that's something to consider with these rear drag reels that I really hadn't contemplated. All right, this Daiwa 250, it has a problem. If you go back and watch the video of when I rebuilt this reel way back when, you will see that there was a whole lot of motion in the spool on it. And I have come up with a fix on it that seems to work pretty well. And I'm going to tear it back out and go back and show you how I did that and give you an opportunity to see that. As far as water intrusion, yes, there was quite a bit of water inside the drag system on it. I had to dry all that out and re-lubricate it, and there was a fair amount of water inside along the edges, but none of it was like dripping down into the body, but it was all along this edge. So, but we are going to do a short video on how to do the fix. And the problem with this was the crosswind block post was worn out, allowing the gear to shift a lot. And I've come up with a fix for that. I didn't come up with it. Somebody else came up with it. And if you watch, I don't remember which one it was, but if you ever read the comments on my videos, there was a guy on one of my videos that commented on how he fixed that. I went and tried it myself. I've tried it I've taken the reel out and tested it a bit, and it works fine. I've had no trouble with it. And if you look, the spool will move just slightly, but nothing like it was before. All right, now I'll show you how to go about doing that. And what long term it's going to do, I don't know, but short term it seems to have worked really well. Then we're going to get back to this guy. A lot of you will remember this reel. We talked about it quite a bit. I had cleaned it up and got it spinning up, and it was really nice. And I had it on that 9-foot long, super flexible head and river rod for fishing for bluegill, and it was in the boat, and it got rained on. Well, when I went to get it, it was missing the knob off the handle. It was missing. And I was like, oh man. So I went looking for it, and I actually did find it, and it was down underneath the seat. It had vibrated loose. So I've gone to tightening that down better. Also, it had vibrated loose here. It had vibrated loose here, and it had a fair amount of water inside it. I mean, down in the gears. I actually had to take this one apart, pull the gears and everything out of it, and clean all the water out. It had a fair amount in it. So again, some of these older reels don't keep the water out very well. It's a pretty reel, but I think a lot of it had to do with the way it was sitting in the boat. It was sitting in there like this, which allowed the rain to hit and run down, and it catches on this edge right here and allowed it to seep into the main case. Still a very nice reel. It's all cleaned up again, ready to go. I'm going to be putting it right back on that rod, and I'm going to put it in a little more protective environment so that it's not getting rained on in the event that I go back out in the rain again. This little Mighty Mite, I think it's what it's called. It's a tiny light. There you go. It's a tiny light. This one belonged to my stepdad. And again, I had this one on a little short ultralight rod. It's about 4 foot long, and it's about as limber as you can ever get. It's like a willow branch almost. I had it in there for doing some bluegill fishing. We ever get into that situation. And it was laying in the bottom of the boat, and it was just plumb full of water inside. Water down inside here, water inside the drag on it. I had to pull it all apart. Nothing had managed to migrate all the way into the main bearing, but there was still a lot of water in here. So I had to pull all the gears out, clean them up, and get this one going again. Some of you may remember this Mitchell Spider Cast reel that I redid a few months ago, and it seemed to perform very well. But as far as water intrusion goes, it got a fair amount in up under here. I mean, there was drops of water in there, not a lot, but water was definitely in there, laying on top of the metal drag washers. So I cleaned that out. And when I did this reel, I had cleaned it. The reel had been sanded, and I spent a fair amount of time cleaning it, and I thought I had gotten it all out of the bearings. But the very first time we took it out and actually used it on the boat, I think it was Robert, one of the two Roberts, commented that the reel felt like it was grinding. And I went over and gave it a feel, and I could feel just a little bit of something, but I really couldn't tell that anything was there. When I pulled it apart yesterday, the bearing that's on this side right here tends to make a bit of a grinding sound, just the slightest. It doesn't do it all the time. It's like it's still got something in there. So I ordered a new set of bearings for this guy yesterday, and I'm going to put them in there and see if this see if it doesn't quiet this thing down. Now, did I actually go out and find parts for this? No, I had to measure the bearings and order them off of eBay. I think I got 4 of them for $11. So I'm going to replace both of these 2 bearings on the sides here, and that should take care of that. But water intrusion into here, it had it all along the seam, but aside from that, it didn't seem that there was water inside the reel. But those bearings, somehow something got in there years ago for this reel to have gotten sanded like it did. So I've pulled it all apart, cleaned it up as best I could. When I get the new bearings in, I'm going to take all the parts out and soak them really good, and I'm going to scrub them in hot soapy water just to make sure I've got all the sand off, and then reassemble this reel. And I'm hoping it's going to be glass smooth. It really spins up real nice, but you can feel this just every now and then, this little tick in it, like there's some kind of something in a bearing somewhere that's catching. So this one's going to get new bearings in it, and we'll see if we can get it back on the water again. My Blue Wave, I've had this reel for about 25 years, and somewhere along the way it got dropped and it busted the end off of it, and so water got into it down in through here. I'm going to take this thing apart and use it as a parts reel. I have one sitting over here. I bought 2 of these at the same time 25 years ago at Walmart for, I bought that rod and reel combinations. I think they were like $20 or $30 a piece. And this one I think I'm going to go ahead and retire and shift over to the other one, but I've just had so much luck catching so many nice fish with this reel over the years that I hate to retire it, but I think it's time. I got too many other nice reels out there, and I didn't bother to take this one apart. I'm going to take the parts out of it and clean it up and retire this reel. So let's talk about the Suligang. That's as close as I can. Suligang, and that's about as close as I can get to the proper name of it. The reel has been performing well. It does a great job out on the water. I caught 4 fish with it on Tuesday when I was out there. It did a great job. It did everything I would want it to do. Now, however, what I'd like to tell you is if later I had just left this reel after fishing it on a rainy day, had I been fishing this reel on a rainy day and left it sitting, this reel would have been ruined. When I took the cap off up here for the drag, it was completely full of water. I mean, it had a lot of water inside. There's nothing here that keeps water out. As a matter of fact, it actually invites water to go in. So when a reel is sitting here in a reel holder like this and the rain's hitting on it, it sits down on here and it runs onto this and it runs right down into this lip and just seeps down inside. There's nothing in there to keep the water from getting inside. They didn't design this with a cover over it, to keep the rain out. It's designed to catch water. So this really had a tremendous amount of water inside. I had to take that apart and dry it out real good, take each one of the drag washers and dry them and get them all cleaned up. When I took it apart back here, there was a tremendous amount of water inside here. It wasn't quite on the gears, but it was puddled in the corner over here. So I had to dry that out. But in this bait runner drag cap, it's completely full of water, and this cap that they've got on the end here was completely full of water. And I think this cap is what was causing it to leak inside, because when the water seeps down into this cap, the cap captures it and just holds it right there so that it has no choice but to sit against that seam and leak into the reel. So again, it's a good functional reel. It goes out and does its job, but it does not do a very good job at keeping water out at all. There's definitely some designs that I would change to make this a better reel. Long term, if I was going to fish this reel, I would probably even take and create an RTV seal around the base of it here, and maybe even where this cap goes on. But that's not going to keep water out of here. It's just really got kind of a poor design for water intrusion. It's just designed for water. When it rains on it, it runs down against this and causes it to leak right inside. And once this part fills up, it fills up this drag. So it's really poorly designed as far as trying to keep water out in the rain. If you're not fishing in the rain, it's a nice little reel doing what it's supposed to do, but it does not do a good job when you're fishing in the rain. Overall take on things, some of the older reels did a really fine job. Even this Pursuit, granted, it's not designed to be water sealed, but it did a really good job of keeping most of the water out. And some, like this Kmart, I still can't understand how it is that this reel had no water intrusion. There might have been just a little on the edge, but no, this thing was dry as a bone when I took it apart. And you would think with the way that the top of this is designed, it's got the same kind of design feature that the Suli gang there had, but there was no water here. And maybe, I just don't know. For some reason, it did not collect water. No water got into it, or if it did, it dried out real quick. There was no water up under it. If you look under it, all of this stayed dry inside. There was no water inside it. So, the only issue I've got with this reel is that it's dirt slow bringing it in. It's geared really high, and it definitely is a slow reel, but it's a workhorse. I've brought in several nice fish with it now, and it goes out and it does its job. So anyway, I hope you like this video. Oh, by the way, I got the bearings in for the Penn Pursuit. The Penn Fierce 2. Remember, I did the Penn Fierce 2 about a week and a half ago, and it's still a little noisy, so we've got new bearings for it. This is the one that fits at the bottom of the main, and then I've got one more bearing up there that's going to go on the top, and I'm hoping I'm going to do a quick video on that, just not today. And so I've got two quick videos to come. One's on that Daiwa B250, and the other one's on that Penn Fierce 2. And if you like these videos, hit the like button. If you don't like them, hit the dislike button. For now, that's Rick Stivers, Young Martin's Reels, signing out.